Good Friday afternoon, everybody. Hope you have had a good week. I said I was going to be in here on Monday. That did not end up happening, but here we are back in the studio today for episode 8 of The Monster in the Lighthouse. I'm your host, Ryan Goodwin, and it is Friday, December 5th, probably the second to last episode that we will do here of this podcast, and probably a shorter one today because there's not as much content to go over. The Patriots won their game on Monday Night Football over the New York Giants, got their 10th consecutive win heading into the bye week. Finally, at last, the Patriots have a bye week, and they are 11-2. And currently, obviously, they have a bye week. The Denver Broncos have already had a bye week. So, by result, the Patriots are a half game up on the Denver Broncos for first place in the AFC. But, of course, that could change this weekend if the Broncos win. And, of course, with the Patriots being idle, the Broncos will be back in front of the lead in the AFC. So, 4 games to go after this weekend for the Patriots with their bye week. They finished it, though, on a high note with the decisive 33-15 win on Monday night in the throwback jerseys at home against the New York Giants. And what a game that was. An exciting one to watch as a Patriots fan. They came out pretty much firing on all cylinders, got out to a 17-0 lead through one quarter, and there were a lot of big hits early in that game. Obviously, the big one being Christian Ellis with his huge pop on rookie quarterback Jackson Dart for the Giants. And the Patriots rode that momentum to that very quick start. They also got the punt return touchdown from Marcus Jones, his second of the season, and his third career punt return touchdown as a member of the Patriots. Jones, in his fourth season with New England, was a rookie back in 2022. Of course, that was the year where he had that punt return touchdown to win the game in the final minute against the New York Jets. A barn burner, 10-3 was the final of that one. And then Jones had a punt return touchdown earlier this season, back in Week 4 against the Carolina Panthers at the end of September. And then, of course, adding his second on Monday night of this season. All right, so the Patriots, kind of a slower second half in that game, though. They led at the half, 30-7, pretty commanding lead. And no points scored by either team in the third quarter. It's been kind of a, recurring issue for the Patriots this season. There haven't been that many, given their record at 11-2. But one issue has been that in the second half, their offense has really slowed down quite a bit. And once again, it did on Monday night, but thankfully their defense was able to get some big stops on the Giants. The Giants went down the field to begin the fourth quarter and cut that 30-7 lead to 30-15. Of course, they got the touchdown, a long run from Devin Singletary, and Singletary was able to break through the Patriots defense. I felt like on a few occasions there were some poor efforts there in the second half by New England, but the Patriots were able to respond after the Giants went for two and converted, and were able to go down the field and kick a field goal from Andy Borregales. He had quite a few field goals on the night to make it 33-15. And, of course, that would end up being the final score of that game. Game before that was, as we talked about before, the Cincinnati Bengals game, so I don't really have to recap that one. Most of this, I think, episode, probably second to last episode, though, of the semester is going to be talking about where the Patriots go after the bye, and who they have left after the bye. Of course, they have the bye this weekend, so they will not play. But then they got at least a couple really tough matchups, I think, going back-to-back coming out of the bye week. They will take on the Buffalo Bills next Sunday, December 14th at 1 o'clock. That'll be at Gillette Stadium. Of course, a rematch of the earlier matchup of these two in the season, the thrilling Sunday night game back on October 5th, where the Patriots won 23-20 in the final minute with a long field goal to win the game from Andy Borregales. And, the Patriots led in that one as well, 20-10. They allowed 10 unanswered to the Bills before they went down the field, got in field goal range, and kicked that game-winning field goal. And then the next week, Sunday, December 21st, the last Sunday before Christmas, the Patriots will go to Baltimore, another 1 o'clock game to take on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And the Ravens are coming off of a kind of surprising, dare I say, loss on Thanksgiving night last week. They lost to the Cincinnati Bengals, who improved to 4-8. Of course, the Bengals did get Joe Burrow back, and also Jamar Chase was back off of suspension. But 3 first-half turnovers for the Ravens really doomed them in that game, and they were able to lose a decisive one, 32-14 at home on Thanksgiving night to the Cincinnati Bengals, who seem recharged with Joe Burrow at the helm and also with Jamar Chase back, but are almost certainly mathematically eliminated from postseason contention, especially with that loss, as we talked about in the last episode, to the Patriots. That gave them their 8th. So even if they do win out the rest of the way, they'll only be 9-8, and it's very unlikely statistically that they will be in the playoffs with a record of 9-8 in the AFC. When you just look at the other teams that are vying for a playoff position, Kansas City almost certainly, Kansas City's 6-6 after that Thanksgiving loss to Dallas. And, there's a few other teams that are in the hunt there. Even Miami is technically in the hunt, as they've won 3 in a row now, up to 5-7. So it's very unlikely, too, that Miami makes the playoffs, but you never know. That late season game in Foxborough, Dolphins-Patriots, could be an interesting one. But I certainly hope that the Patriots come away with it. That's actually the Week 18 matchup for the Patriots. That'll be January 4th of 2026. So that will not even be in this calendar year. That'll be the start of next year. But yeah, so after that Ravens game, the Patriots end the year, the next 2 weeks, the final 2 weeks, with a pair of AFC East opponents. December 28th, the Sunday after Christmas, the Patriots travel to the Meadowlands to take on the New York Jets. And then Sunday, January 4th, as we just mentioned, of 26, the Patriots host the Miami Dolphins to close out the regular season. In all likelihood that the Patriots, of course, will be in the postseason, so that will not be it for their 2025 campaign. And it's just a matter of where. Now, we talk about a matter of where next Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. I'm sorry, I'm mixing everything up. Next Sunday against the Buffalo Bills at Gillette will be a huge game because with a win, the Patriots can officially win the AFC East. So this would be the first time that New England would have won the AFC East, I believe, since, 2019. 2019 would have been the last season that the Patriots won the AFC East. They finished that year with a record of 12-4. And I believe the Buffalo Bills also finished that year 12-4 too, but the Patriots had the tiebreaker in that they won both head-to-head matchups that year. So the Patriots 12-4 in 2019. That was the last time they won the division. Of course, we all know how that season ended. It ended poorly. The egg that got laid in Week 17 at Gillette against the Miami Dolphins, they lost on a last-minute touchdown from Mike Gesicki, a future Patriot, and also Ryan Fitzpatrick drove the Dolphins down the field. And a very poor effort. The Patriots ended the season on a really sour note, despite still winning the division. And that next weekend, of course, it would be future Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel, who would lead the Tennessee Titans into New England in the wild card round and take down Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in what would be Brady's final game as a Patriot. So not a good way to end things there. But yeah, this is going to be a big game coming up for New England in a couple weeks. Obviously, on Sunday the 14th, they got this weekend off. Got some extra time to prepare for the Buffalo Bills. But that's going to be an exciting game. 1 o'clock on CBS. I would certainly expect that's probably going to be a Jim Nantz and Tony Romo game. The time did not get moved. That was debated this week earlier, that the time for Patriots-Bills might get moved to either a 4:25 or perhaps even a Sunday night game, just because of the magnitude of that matchup. But it did not. It will stay in its original 1 o'clock slot. And again, very likely that we see the top CBS crew, so Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, get the call for that game. If not Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, it's almost certainly going to be Ian Eagle and J.J. Watt. They're the number 2 crew. So definitely going to be a premier CBS crew that we get that weekend. And, yeah, would expect that. So the Buffalo Bills, we'll take a look at who they have this weekend. They have the Cincinnati Bengals at Orchard Park at whatever their stadium's called. I believe it's Highmark Stadium. Of course, this is the final season of it before they move to their new stadium for next year. And all of a sudden, that looks like an intriguing matchup now. The Cincinnati Bengals, obviously, we know, have a horrible defense, ranked, I think, dead last in the league in a lot of categories. But their offense is very good. And now, especially with Joe Burrow being back, and obviously Jamar Chase only missed the Patriots game because of that suspension. So that could be an interesting matchup. It doesn't look like they're going to have T. Higgins once again because of that concussion that he suffered against New England. But that, I think, looks like an intriguing matchup all of a sudden, even though Cincinnati is the inverse of Buffalo's record at 4-8. That could be an exciting game this weekend. 1 o'clock on Sunday at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. All right, so I think that's pretty much going to cap the Patriots talk for this week, only just past 11 minutes in. But I do want to talk a little bit, finally, again, about the MLB and about the Boston Red Sox. We haven't talked about the Red Sox really a lot, I feel like, since they got eliminated in early October against the Yankees. But I think we're finally going to talk about them again because they have made some moves since our last episode, which I think was back on Monday, November 24th. And literally the very next day, the Red Sox made a trade move. They traded for veteran starting pitcher Sonny Gray, right-hander from the St. Louis Cardinals, age 36, just turned 36 earlier this month. And Sonny Gray, of course, has been in the MLB a long time, a number of different teams. As far as I can remember, the A's, the Yankees, the Cincinnati Reds, also the St. Louis Cardinals, who he was last on. And the Red Sox traded away younger pitcher who made some starts this year for the Red Sox. That would be Richard, or Dick Fitz, as they call him. Richard Fitz gets traded to St. Louis along with a minor league left-hander for the Red Sox in Brandon Clark. And yeah, what do I think of this trade? Well, I think it's not a bad trade if the Red Sox are going to do more at the starting pitching position because there's still some talent out there for starting pitchers. And yeah, they can't just settle, I think, for Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray can't be your number 2 starting pitcher next year behind Garrett Crochet. You have to go out, I think, and get certainly a better guy as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts really on the Sonny Gray trade. I don't really hate it otherwise. If Sonny Gray is going to be a 4 or 5 starter in your rotation, that's not a bad piece to have. He's a guy that didn't have a horrible year last year, finished with a 4.28 ERA, I believe 14-8 win-loss record. So again, not going to light up the stat sheet, but also a respectable starter, has mostly been able to stay healthy in his career. So I think he's a guy that you can rely on to make his starts and to kind of eat innings. So that's a good thing if you're the Red Sox. You need a guy like that, maybe at the back end of the rotation. But I feel like we have plenty of back end rotation guys already on this pitching staff. So if you're not going to go out and get another top arm to pair with Garrett Crochet, then this is kind of an move. It's not really a move that you're going to hate, but it's not a move that you're going to love either. And then just yesterday, the Red Sox traded their number 3 prospect, Justinson Garcia, a.k.a. the password, because his first name is pretty hard to pronounce. And he made some time in the MLB this year. He did make his MLB debut with the Red Sox back in late August. I believe that was in a series against the Yankees where he made his debut. And the Red Sox fared well in that series. They took 3 out of 4 in the Bronx. But Garcia, just like that, the password is gone. And they traded him for starting pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Johan Oviedo. Now, I'm not really sure what to make of this move either. Oviedo was, again, kind of a middle guy last year, not great. He was born in 1998, so that makes him, he'll be, 28 years old next spring. So, again, I'm not really face value, not really a huge fan of this move. Oviedo was 15-26 in his career. 2025, he didn't make a bunch of starts. He was coming off of Tommy John surgery. He went 2-1 with a 3.57 ERA, so not really a big sample size there. Not bad numbers, but not a big sample size. 2025 played 9 games, 357, did allow 6 home runs. Let's see his strikeout numbers. Did have 42 strikeouts to 23 walks, so not a horrible ratio, but not the best either. Again, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with this move, and also what happens with the Boston Red Sox, because this weekend kicks off the 2025 winter meetings. So we're going to start to maybe see some more activity of free agency. We have seen a few trades with some teams before the winter meetings, but I think they're going to start to ramp up right here before Christmas now. And also after Christmas, as we kick off 2026 in January, that's, I think, where you start to see a lot of moves as well. All right, so what do I think the Red Sox will do? Honestly, I hate to be a fence sitter, but I really don't know. I think the Red Sox could go out and get a guy like Pete Alonso, because they seem to be very interested in Pete Alonso. But again, we've heard that a lot from the Red Sox these last number of off seasons. They get very interested in these guys, but they don't actually offer them anywhere close to what they actually want. And it seems like right now, from a lot of reports, that the Red Sox and Mets are the two prime competitors to land Pete Alonso. But again, I still think it's so early. I think the Yankees will definitely be in there too before all is said and done. So if I were the Red Sox, I would go out and get that deal done right now. But again, I'm not the Red Sox, and I don't really know what holds them up sometimes. So we'll see. That's all I'm going to say as we head into the next and probably final episode, is that we'll see. This was definitely a shorter episode today, but I just wanted to kind of touch base on some things. The last Patriots game, obviously not a whole lot of content to talk about for the Patriots related wise, because they're heading into a bye week this week. And we'll probably talk a lot more about that Bills matchup in the next episode. So anyway, I hope you have a safe weekend, a happy weekend on this Friday. This is probably one of the first Friday episodes that I've actually recorded this semester. So hope you enjoyed that. And we'll see you in the next episode. This is Ryan Goodwin signing off. Have a great weekend.